Hey my friend, a lot of time when you deal with an iPhone app, you see the patterns around your UI a lot of time that you have like a tail view of things that whenever you tap on each of the cell, each of the item, you'll have a detail screen. That way of design we call it the master detail. So the master screen is our list of things or a grid of things or just like some it's more of like there's even better. You have bubbles of things, right? In the music app, you have the bubbles of artists, or in the app store, you have some carousels of apps or grid of apps. In Instagram, you have a grid of photos. That is the master screen. When you click into one thing, you transition into what we call the detail screen, and that detail will show more details, will show more things about that item. So in this lesson, let's talk about how we can set up the static table view cell. It looks like this. It's simple, it's beautiful, but more importantly, you're going to use static table view cell a lot, and let's use that as our detail screen. So let's go ahead into our demo. Alright my friend, in this lesson, let's create this guy. When we click into a product, we see the product screen and we have the big image and we have our title. We can change our title and the description. Notice that I can even change the description and the title. And then I can change the image, clicking into there. If we run it on an iPhone, then we have the camera display. If we run it on a simulator like this, then we have the photos library to change that. Pretty cool, huh? So let's implement this guy. Now, this is what we call a static table view. So now, as a programmer, usually we'll use some tool, something like Cello over here, to store some of the things that we have to implement. So, for example, to implement this guy, right? So to implement this guy, we want to go through a few steps. So I'm going to put those steps into our backlog like this. And then as we progress, as we are implementing that feature, we'll move that card over our in progress. And then if we need to fix that bug later, we'll move it over there. If we're done with that, then we move it over to done. So the backlog here, number one, we're going to need to design. Let me increase the text here. We need to design the product detail screen using static table view, like that. The next one we need to do is we need to create a custom class for the new table view. And then we need step number 3, we need to create, get the data model for the class and populate data into the table view. Right? Remember, populate the data into the table view, just like when we have a bunch of products. We populate the data using UITableView data source and delegate data source, just like that. And then here, the next step is we want to, how about when we click over here, we need to change the photo, right? So we click on the photo and then display the camera / our photos library, right? And then the next step is we want to, we want to segue, right? We want to transition from our, what is this? The master screen. This is what we call the master screen, and this is the detail screen, right? A lot of time when you see in apps, for example, because the iPhone is so small, that then we want to have like the master detail screen. So the master screen will display a bunch of things, a list of things, a grid of things. When we transition into the detail screen, we show the detail of that. For example, our news app. So our news app right here, when I click into this guy, and it shows the detail of that story. If I goes into, for example, the calendar like this, okay, allow, and if I create like, let's say I create a new event, something like this, and I add the event like that, right? And if I click into the events like this, we show the detailed screen of the event, You see that? The pattern of design of UI just like that in iOS. So for example, the Photos app, when we have a grid of photos here, we click into the photos, we show the full photo. That's pretty cool, right? So we want to do that with our app too. We have a bunch of products here. We click into one product and we show the detail of that. So we transition from the product Tableview Controller TVC to the product detail TVC Tableview Controller. And the last thing we want to do here is we want to update the edit of a product. So for example, if I update this iLife into iLife 2, and when it goes back here, this updates to iLife 2. Makes sense, right? So that is all the things we want to do in this session or in the next one. So let's begin with number 1. Design the product detail screen using static table view. Design the product using static table view. Now, by the way, the tool I'm using is called Cello. Okay, so here we go. Go back into our UI. Where's that? Xcode goes into your main.storyboard, and here I'm going to let's have another table view controller over here. Right? Remember that the feature we are going to implement here is only work on a UITableView controller, not a view controller with a table view, but a UITableView controller. And you see this table view controller. Drag that thing to the screen like this. Okay? We drag that thing to the screen like this. And then what we want to do is we want to somehow having these cells to look exactly like these. Now, what are these cells? These cells is actually not these cells. Now, these cells is what we call dynamic table view cells, but this is static table view cells. So when you click into this table view, the table view over here, you see that the table view with the content is dynamic prototyped. But we can change it to static cells too. So let's click into this new table view. And then the content, we want to change that into static cells, like this. Cool? And then the static cells, you see that there is kind of like the separator, right? We got the image, and we got the data, like that. So when we click into still the table view, you can change the sections into, I want to have the 2 sections, something like that, but let's just leave it as 1. And then the style, this is the plain style, but I want it to be group. You see that? Group. So we group it like this. And then still selecting the table view, I want to have like 2 sections, so that this is 1 section right here, and then this is another section. Cool? All right. Now let's delete some of these things. I'm going to delete these cells. Okay, by default it has 3. Here I want to delete just 1 because we want 1. Okay. As I'm going to zoom in like this so that we see the separator. Okay. Now number 1, let's change this guy into our image. So double click, and then we have the image. Over here, let's change this into details. I know I have data here, but I think detail will be a better name for that. Okay, next thing, let's have our image here. You know what? Let's make sure that this row over here, you see this? We can scroll down like that, right? We can make sure that this row, the item cells here, we can increase the size of it. I think there's a bug in Xcode right now, in storyboard right now. So let me move from here back to here. It reloads. That's cool. So here, I want to make sure that this row height, let's make it something like 200 points, like that. Okay, 200 points. And then let's drag out a UI image view into the screen. So we drag out a UI image view, and I want this image to be the full size of this guy, something like this. Okay, so let's use auto layout for this guy. Select the image, goes into the pin menu, and then uncheck the constraint margins. 0 to the top, 0 to the leading, 0 to the trailing, and 0 to the bottom. And look at what is the content, the views that we connect this constraint to. It is the contents view of this table view cells. Okay, it is still a UI table view cell. And then we add the for constraint. And how about we change this thing into like default image? And then the content mode, let's change that into aspect fit. Cool. Okay, the next one. Let's have our title, and then this little thing we call it a UI text field. So let's have a label. Drag out this guy label to the screen, and let's make it 16. I think that is the size. Change the label into title. And then we want to use the font here instead of system. We want to use like the headline, right? We want to use that headline. Okay, now you see that it is now a little bit like bigger than the usual one. So you can hold the command key, click the equal button, and then it will shrink down into the correct size. The next one, let's have that text field. So let's search for text field. Drag out that text field to the screen right into the middle using the blue guidelines again. And then we want to make it 8 point to the left and drag it to the right like this. And I want to have like 16 to the right. So let's decrease it by 3 points width. Okay, so the width here you have is 299. Pretty cool. Next thing, oh, by the way, I just like to have the separator here to be exactly 6 point, the outline, right, or the inset to be 16. So let's have the, the separator selecting this cell. The separator, the custom inset, left is 16. The right is 16 too, like that. And let's do the same for this guy. So we have the separator, custom inset, left is 16 and right is 16. Okay, next thing, over here we have our little, what is that? The, what is this? The detail of a product, right? The detail of a product. So the detail here, we will not use a text field because number one, we want to be able to edit our text. Number two, you want to display multiple lines of text. And for that, for both editing, selecting the text, and displaying multiple lines of text, we use something we call a text view. A text view. So we are going to scroll this thing down a little bit like this. Oh, by the way, Xcode storyboard is still mad at me for some reason. So let's select that again like this. Let's use that like 200 points again. Okay, and then we just want to select text view, drag that text view to the screen like this, make it 16 to the left, 16 to the left, and then 16 to the right, and I use the blue guideline so that we are right in the center, and then 16 to the bottom, or 8 is fine. Okay, let's use auto layout so that it's easier for us. 16 to the left and right, 8, yeah, it is fine, and then 8 to the bottom. Cool. Add the for constraint. Now let's change our text over here. So I want to change the text over here. You can leave it as some sample text like this. I want to change the text, the font, into the body font, just like we use it for our thing. And then now we have auto layout for this guy. How about I would challenge you to do auto layout for these two cells? Now it's going to be pretty simple. So I hope that by now you're confident to do this. So please pause this workshop and do it. Apply auto layout for the title and this text field. Do it now. You have 30 seconds. Go. Did you do it? I know this is less than 30 seconds, but this is in a video. I'm like in a virtual instructor right now, so it's your last chance. Do it now. Do not wait. Do it now. Did you do it? Here we go. Let me do it. Okay, so it's my turn. Uncheck constraint to margin, left, right, and bottom. And how about right? Like this. And then this guy too. 7, and this one we want to have 16, and then bottom is, what is that, 6 is fine. Add the constraint like that, and everything is happy. Pretty simple, right? Awesome. Now our job is done for this little thing. That is pretty simple, isn't it? we just have to do that. We just have to design that thing. So where is my Chrome? Here we go. We are done with this design, the product detail screen, using static table view. Done. Boom. Okay, next thing. We need to create a custom class for the new table view. So it's actually a Tableview controller. So let's right click into our controllers, new file, and go attach class. And guess what? What is the subclass of this guy? What is the subclass of this guy? UITableViewController. And let's name this guy Detail Tableview Controller or Product Detail Tableview Controller. Add next, and then we create. Cool. Now, pay attention that because we are using what we call a static cell Tableview controller. That's why we don't need, here's the point, we don't need to implement this Tableview data source. Haha, you know, it's just kind of like really lucky for you, right? Because it is new concept and maybe you don't want to deal with that. But I know. So we don't need to any of that. Let's delete all of these code. Okay, so now the job now, because we are using static cells, so we don't have to use a data source. The data source is only for dynamics Tableview cells. So now let's select into this guy, Tableview controller, assign a custom class over here into the product detail Tableview controller, and then open up the assistant editor like this. By opening up the assistant editor, hold the option key, click into the product detail Tableview controller. Now what you can do is you just make simple IB outlet and IB action into this class, just like you have for any view controller class. So I'm going to right click and drag into this guy, and let's name this guy product image view. This guy, right, we have this text field, so we have product title text field, and this guy is a text view, so product description text view like this, product description text view, connect it, and that's pretty much it, right? We have, that is all we need to have that guy. Okay, awesome. Now let's deal with our product detail Tableview controller. So it goes over products detail Tableview controller. Oops, over here, product detail Tableview controller, and I think we are pretty good with this thing. So let's get the next thing. Get the data model for the class and populate the data into the Tableview. What do I mean by that? So it means that what does this class, what does this Tableview trying to display? Yeah, pop quiz. What is that? Okay, so we are trying to display a product. Remember? So let's have a var product, which is a product optional like this, because it can be nil. Remember? Because it can, maybe like someone doesn't give us that, or we didn't initialize it, so it can be nil. Cool. So now when the view did load, I'm going to call super view did load like this as always, right? So that the view controller can set up anything that we want. Now we're going to set the title of this guy, because maybe we want to have the navigation into edit product. And then I want to set all the properties of this product into these guys. So it means that we change the image view of the product to be the image of the product, the title text field to contains the title of this product, the description text views.text contains the description of the product. So can you do that little code challenge for me? So it means that assign all the properties of this product into these guys. Can you do it now? Okay, so I give you 5 minutes to do it. Oh, actually, 3 minutes. Go. Okay, I hope that you already pause it and do the work. So here is how I could do it. I'm going to do product image view dot image equals to our product dot image like this. Optional again. And then we use product title text field dot text to be our product. What is that? Dot title question mark, And let me see, what is this guy? It is a string. That's good. And then next thing, we got the product description text view dot text to be our product dot description, and that is only text. That's pretty good, isn't it? Okay, so now let's have, well, what is that? Let's try and run the app and see how it looks like, right? Now, but you see that this guy, it doesn't have any connection with this guy yet. We'll talk about that. But now we want to test out this. So let's move this arrow over here into this guy, so that we have this guy to have the arrow. It will be the initial view controller that when we run the app. Let's run the app now and see how it looks like. Over here, I'm going to move it like this because my screen is pretty big, I think. Okay, here we go. We have that guy. Now, right now we don't have anything yet. It's because we don't have any product, right? So let's try and give us like a random product. So var product here equals to product line dot get product lines, and then we subscript 0, so that we got the first product line, and then we do dot product, and then we do subscript 0. Cool. Let's run the app once again and see how it looks like. Now, by the way, if it's nil over here, and if you don't use optional chaining like this, you very much likely have a crash. That's why. Okay? So here we go. That is how you do it. You have that beautiful thing showing up, and that is what we are talking about. Now, you see that when we select here, when I select into this, it highlights the cell. It's because we are selecting the tail view. So what we can do, we don't want that, so we can just select over here the table view, and then you will see something over here, right? We have the selection. I don't think it is the case. So, alright, I hope that you enjoyed this lesson. We talk about static tail view cells. Let's go ahead, leave me a comment, please. Leave me a comment section. Leave me a comment or question, anything that you want to ask me in the comment section. Just let me know that you are here and you are taking this lesson. It's lesson 8 over 10 already. So I hope that you enjoy this journey. I hope that you enjoy all the lessons here for you. And at some point, if you love more advanced training, check out Total IELTS Blueprint. But in the next lesson, let's talk about how you can use that detail screen, and then we transition from the master screen to the detail screen. And that's all we talk about in the next lesson. I see you in the next one. Enjoy. And as always, go out there every single day of your life, learn new things, craft your ideas, and contribute to the world. So let's do it another way then. We want to be the feature I want to do now. Okay, so we have the custom class, I think it's done. And then we have the get the data model, it's pretty good. And then in progress, I want to do something like make the table view not highlight a cell, something like that, right? So let's try and achieve that feature. So inside your product table view, detailed table view controller over here, let's cancel the project like that. You know what? Let's open that up. And I actually want to open up our detail screen. Oh, we still, now look at this. We still be able to select the first one, but we do not be able to select this guy. You see that? This guy will not be selected. It will actually not have that highlight. So what we can do is we will override a method in UITableView Delegate. So let's have a mark over here called UITableView Delegate. Now, this UITableView Delegate is like a protocol. It is a protocol that will inform the TableView controller some pieces of information. For example, we'll select row index path. It is a method that will be called whenever someone is going to select a row at that index path. Or if you have a method like did select row at index path, it is a method that will get called whenever we select an index path like this. Cool? So let's implement some of those. Number one, I want to implement will select row at index path. And then this is an override like this because we are conforming, we are implementing UITableView controller. Okay, so here we want to have let's have hit over here. Okay, so we want to check the will select row index path. Okay, and this means that do we allow, so let's hold the option key and okay, so hold the option key, click into the will select row index path, and then it says over here the description tells the delegate that a specific row is about to get selected. Okay, so this means is that if we return the index path that is passed into this, that means that the user can select that. But if we return something like nil, then the user will not be able to select that. So here, I want to check if the index path dot section equals to 0, and the index path dot row equals to 0, like this, meaning that the first row of the first section like this. Okay, this is the first section, this is the second section, this is the first row of the first section. And if it is the case of that image row, I'm going to return that index path so that the user can select that, right? But if it is not else over here, else, we'll return nil so that the user can select it, cannot select it. Make sense? So now let's run the app and see how it looks like. Let's see it. Here we go. Okay, so this is the app. We can select this, but if I click it here, there's nothing happen over here. You see that? Cool. Okay, next, I think that is done. So let's move it over here into done. Let's move the whole list done before the bug fix. Okay. All right, that's pretty good. Now let's see what else I can do. Oh, by the way, when you click into the text field and the text view like this, you don't see the keyboard, right? Because the simulator, sometimes it happens like that. What you can do is hold the hardware, click into hardware, and then there's a keyboard like this, and then you can toggle the keyboard or you hold the command K. And say this, and then if you move into this guy, it will always like this. Cool? Okay. Now, next thing. You know what? I want to do something really special. That is, if you see this keyboard over here, right? And if I hit the return key, it does nothing. It does nothing right now. What I want to do is, if I click into the return key over here, I will actually dismiss the keyboard, because right now there's no way that I can dismiss the keyboard, right? And somehow for this guy too, but this guy, it kind of like we can have multiple return key. So what I want to do is I want to have the return key here, click here, and we dismiss the keyboard. So dismiss keyboard when return key is pressed on text field, like that. Okay, so the way we're going to do this is I'm going to let this product detail Tableview controller conforming to a protocol. Pay attention. We're conforming to a protocol called UITableView Delegate. UITableView Delegate. Cool. So here is what it looks like. We are going to tell us that in the view delegate like this. I'm going to tell us the product title text field .delegate to be ourself, which is this class. And then you will find out that if I build the app now, build, and then it says cannot assign the value of typed product detail Tableview controller to the typed UITableView delegate. You see this? All it means is that we didn't implement the protocol called UITableView Delegate. So below here, I'm going to have an extension for the product detail Tableview controller. An extension simply means that we extend the functionalities, we extend the methods and those kind of things for a class. This thing we implement UITableView Delegate like this. And here, there's a method, it's called text field should return. I think that is the case, right? Should return like this. Oops, sorry. Text field should return. It means that it asks us, hey, the user just click the text field, click the return key. What should I do? Should I allows the user to click the return, or should I do anything else? Yeah, here I just want to do the text field, which is this guy, right? Dot resign the first responder. Resign the first responder. It means that the first responder of the text field is the keyboard, which means that when you click into this text field, which one responds to the text field first, which is the keyboard, right? Now we resign the first responder, which means that we dismiss the keyboard. And then, yes, you can return. We return true. Like that. Let's run the app and see how it looks like. I'm going to open it like this so that we have more space. Here we go. Click over here. We have the keyboard. Click return, and it dismisses the keyboard. That's pretty cool. Okay, now when we click over here and you see that there's this feature in where is that? There's this feature in, let me click return and dismiss. Now this feature is free for you when you use UITableView controller, static Tableview controller. That is when you click into this guy, you see this, and the whole Tableview move up. That is a free feature that for you. In other cases, you have to implement that yourself. Okay, now what I want to do now is that right now there's no way for us to dismiss this keyboard, right? One way we can do that is we have a button over here called like done or something. But what I want to do is actually when I kind of like scroll down a little bit, then it's kind of like an advanced feature in your app, right? When we scroll down a little bit, then the keyboard will dismiss immediately, just like when you see in your Messenger app. Okay, so for example, I think there's a messenger over here. I hope that there's no message from me. So yeah, I tapping in something like this, and if I scroll down the screen like this, right? If I scroll down this keyboard dismiss. So how can we do that? It's pretty simple. We also have to conform to another protocol. It's called, let's have an extension here, product detail Tableview controller, and we conform to UI scroll view delegate. Okay, now don't worry about these things as we move on in, for example, programs like Total iOS Blueprint. I hope that you will join us someday, and we'll talk a lot more in depth about protocol, about delegate, about implementing the extensions, those kind of things. I hope that you have the chance. If you have, join us someday, and I will be happy to serve you in the program. So here, we're going to implement a method called scroll view will begin dragging. So it means that if the scroll view, now the scroll view is something in iOS that you can scroll like this, and the scroll view is just like a simple view that you can scroll. And because the table view is also something that you can scroll. So in fact, a table view is a subclass of scroll view. So if you go over here, UI scroll view, see that? UI scroll view is a subclass of UI view. And then if you go into your product Tableview controller, UITableView controller, click into the UITableView controller, hold the Command key and click into that, you see that you have a table view. And then if you hold the Command key again, click into the Tableview, UITableView, it is a subclass of UI scroll view. That's pretty cool, right? So you can have all the features of scroll view for the table view. Now, what we want to do here is we want to make sure that the product description text view dot resign the first responder, or if it is the case of the product title text field, then we also want to resign the first responder. We can call both of that. Let's run the app and see how it looks like. Oh, redundant. Okay, now this happens is because by default the UITableView controller is already conforming to UI scroll view delegate. So let's delete that thing and run the app. But I'm going to have a mark here called UI scroll view delegates, like that. Okay. Now we're clicking here. If I move it up, so nice. If I move it down, or if I even move it up because I drag it, it will dismiss the keyboard. That's pretty neat, right? Awesome. So that is how you do it. You have dismissed the keyboard. We done. Okay. Now, the next thing we have to do is these three things. So let's talk about that in the next lesson.